Have you ever seen a decision given against Arsenal quite like that before? Oh, wait, yeah, I have. It was a few months ago. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal Raw Reaction Show. Joining you the morning after, the night before. I'm quite glad to be here in a way because yesterday I genuinely thought I might be stuck trying to get back from Brighton. The weather on the way home yesterday was horrendous. So for anybody that was indeed driving back from the game, I hope you did get back safe and sound because it was not a pleasant experience by any stretch of the imagination. It's got to the place where you can't see lines on the ground. You get idiots on the road driving a little bit too fast on the motorway when it's snowy, sending snow everywhere, ploughing onto people's windscreens and creating chaos. So for those that were travelling back yesterday, I indeed hope that you were okay and got there in the end. It was horrendous trying to make our way back from the stadium yesterday. But into, of course, the football. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much for joining me. It's not going to be a happy, clappy show. I can tell you that for starters. I will be taking calls, as usually we like to do after Arsenal don't win a game. It's something of an opportunity for a therapy session and a discussion. So get yourselves ready for part two, because I'll be chucking the link into the chat box so you can kind of vent your thoughts. I've got a day off, so I'm pretty chill about how long we talk for this morning. It could be a long one, so strap in. But I'm going to go into some of my thoughts. Of course, after defeats, the mood is horrendously low. We've been trying to do this 1K like challenge. We're literally 5 days into the new year, and we've done it so far. It's been brilliant. So if indeed you still can get a like on the video, even if it takes all of your strength to do so, please do. Probably not going to be able to remind you because I will forget the rest of the show. So if you haven't already done so, please do drop a like and help us out on our way to 1K every single day. Right, let's jump into today's stories, shall we? We start, as you can imagine, with kind of the score as a whole. Sometimes it doesn't look like you deserve more when you actually do. That's kind of my view of things. I think this game is a really interesting context of how matches are perceived, actually, on the surface, and how when you take a larger look at things about what is deserving or what doesn't necessarily seem to work, or how people's opinions form based upon just the result rather than, of course, what you've witnessed and how you've got there. And so I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at what we're dealing with. And obviously there's the big elephant in the room, which we will talk about as well. But I'm keen to get some of your thoughts. And if you think I'm wrong at any point, instead of spewing hate, as some people tend to do give me a call. You're more than welcome to challenge me. When it comes, though, to the lineup, this was where things started to already go kind of wrong. Unfortunately, there was a lot of issues in the Arsenal team, which has led us to be in this position where we are starting with bare bones. Illness has, of course, affected the team over the past week, and that illness has continued to affect the squad. We are aware that more than just Kai Havertz are indeed affected by illness. We're unaware of who some of the other players are. We know that Martin Odegaard is indeed one of them. But at the end of the day, there are indeed other players that we aren't aware the identities of who are also supposedly affected by the illness. But the team was with Jurriën Timber suspended, as we suspected. Thomas Partey at right back. I don't really have an issue with that. I know some people do. I'm not starting Calafiori there. I'm not starting an 18-year-old who isn't even a left back there either. So Partey at right back, and he was fine. I think he made one error in the game overall and actually did quite well to stop the offence on the left-hand side from several different players, be it Matoma, be it Adingra. He stopped the majority of those moments and did okay. Saliba and Gabriel, of course, at the back, had decent games. I can't begrudge Saliba for the obvious, and we'll talk about that in more detail shortly, but Gabriel was solid once again. Calafiori, I thought, was better than he was against Brentford. I didn't think he had the best of games against Brentford, but I thought as he gradually comes back from this injury and gets more minutes, he is starting to improve and get better. We need to see more from him, that's for sure, but again, he's still coming back from this injury situation. Declan Rice played as the most advanced central midfielder, of course, with no Martin Odegaard fit and firing and no Bukayo Saka either. We have a situation where, Nwaneri's on the right-hand side and Rice is playing kind of this advanced kind of midfield position as well. So his pressing in the first half was excellent. I thought we really did kind of suffocate Brighton in the first half. If you just look at the first half, which we're not going to do, but it was obvious that Arsenal were the better side to that half-time whistle. And that came a lot from the pressing and the work rate of the team in the first half, particularly being led by Rice. Of course, it's usually led by Odegaard, the press, but Rice was very good at doing that. Jorginho and Merino. Jorginho made a couple of mistakes in the first half before, of course, coming off in the second. I actually think, and I was talking to Sophie after the game, Miles Lewis-Skelly, I think, is a little unfortunate not to be brought off the bench in this game to play in midfield. I feel as though that Jorginho could have been brought off for Lewis-Skelly, somebody who's genuinely much more fit than what Odegaard seems to be. And I think that was a change that could have been made, especially as well with Merino and on a yellow card later on in the game. I don't really know why either one of Zinchenko or Lewis-Skelly, who are progressive with their passing, can find a really good ball into some dangerous areas, weren't brought on. That was certainly a criticism I had of how the game played out from a managerial standpoint in the second half. And then the front three of Nwaneri, Trossard and Jesus. We'll come to Nwaneri because he needs a shout out individually. But my goodness me, Trossard and Jesus were awful. Absolutely awful. Trossard barely made any dent. If you're getting booed from minute one, you'd think that would be some sort of motivation in this game to really go for it, to really give it to the opposition and put in 110%, unless he was one of the people that is indeed affected by illness. And we don't know because there are others, as I mentioned. But Trossard and Jesus offered little. Jesus, of course, had to kind of drop in. He was constantly dropping into the midfield, dropping really deep into those positions. And that obviously led us to not having much of a focal point when we did attack. And obviously, he had a one-on-one situation that was saved, but it was offside anyway. But it was a chance that he should have put away. And obviously, had he been onside, it would have been a big, big miss on the day. We took the lead through Ethan Nwaneri. Brilliant goal. Really good pass, of course, from Rice into Merino, and then an excellent pass through to Nwaneri, whose confidence on the ball is way more than kind of a 17-year-old at these days that you expect. He's the first player in Arsenal's history to score 2 Premier League goals before the age of 18. An amazing stat. And really genuinely was exciting to see and exciting to watch. It was so therefore frustrating that he had to come off at half-time. I asked Arteta after the game why he was brought off because I was so perplexed at why Nwaneri came off, but it turns out that he's got a muscular problem. And now he's gone too. We've got another injury to another player. And the player that's come in to replace Bukayo Saka is also now injured with a muscular problem. We don't know how serious this muscular issue is. We don't know if he's going to be ready for Newcastle. We don't know if he's going to be out for an extended period, but he had to come off with a muscular problem at half-time, which is absolutely gutting. Absolutely gutting. And the reason why I asked the question, actually, was because of the time wasting, actually. We'll come to this first. Nwaneri was booked in the first half, and I thought maybe that was why he came off. And that's why I asked Arteta at half-time why he brought him off, because this time wasting's got to stop, mate. Like this, it's got to stop. It absolutely has got to be curbed. Because the reason why Jurriën Timber is obviously missing from this game is because he's reached 5 yellow cards. Now, one of those 5 yellow cards was received because of taking too long on a throw-in the 35th minute of a game. Nwaneri is booked for time wasting from a corner in the first half. It has to change. It absolutely has to stop. And I know that a lot has gone against us this season. And I know that a lot is obviously going against us in games. And I know that we are threadbare in terms of our team at the moment. And we try to slow the game down. And teams have done this to us. And I know it's frustrated us. But we have to. I turned to Joe Prince Wright from NBC next to me and said, "This is getting silly." Like, I thought Anthony Taylor had a horrendous game in the first half. I thought he actually there was actually some favouring of Arsenal from Anthony Taylor in the first half, which I think he tried to balance up very unprofessionally in the second half. But there were some decisions that went against Brighton that shouldn't have done. But obviously he was booking Waneri for this time wasting. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts to me. It needs to stop. It absolutely needs to stop. And I know that it's something that it is talked about. I know that these dark arts, this time wasting is something that they're more than aware of. It's absolutely intentional. So yeah, it has to change because this is getting absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, let's go back to the big moment of the game, which is going to take up the majority of my brain power this morning. Look, Arsenal are winning the game 1-0 by this point. You can talk all you like about how you think Arsenal deserved more or deserved less or didn't deserve to win this game or whether they're what. I don't care. It's based upon the chances that we have in games. And both teams created, in terms of big opportunities, very little. Arsenal took their chance and Brighton didn't take their chances. Now, Brighton get the opportunity from a penalty spot that should never, ever, ever happen. This should never, ever be a penalty. Not only does William Saliba make contact with the ball before, of course, making contact with João Pedro, but it's an accidental clash of heads in the box. And I've seen some detractors try to compare this to like a late challenge, like a clash of legs. It's so different. It's two players going for a header. Not only does Saliba make contact with the ball anyway, so even if it was a challenge of feet, if you make contact with the ball, of course, before then going through, it's not going to be given as a penalty. This is what VAR is for. The referee cannot see that Saliba makes this quick contact. And VAR is there so that the referee and the assistant referees can, of course, make a judgment and see things that the referee is unable to see quickly in that moment and get to the right decision. It's not re-refereeing this moment. It's clear and obvious that the referee has missed that Saliba has touched the ball first. It's absolutely... Anthony, what are you talking about? No, he made contact with... Look at it again, mate. watch it again. João Pedro heads the ball, then Saliba heads the ball, then Saliba makes contact with João Pedro. Watch it back. It's worth it. You can find it on Twitter. It's very easy. When it comes to this position, it's a joke that this is given. Absolutely disgraceful decision-making. And not only that, but Mikel Arteta revealed to us after the game, of course, that they had checked it. And we know from the actual commentary, I wasn't able to listen to the commentary in the game, but I listened to the commentary afterwards. I think it was Jonathan Pearce on the BBC Match Today. It was genuine. Arteta was right. It was like 3 seconds. They judged it after 3 seconds and made the call and cleared it as a penalty. It wasn't looked into. It wasn't like watched back and back and back again, like we've seen so many other instances so far this season when it's an Arsenal situation. I remember the offside calls that we've seen, which we can blatantly see were onside, trying to be given as offside. Like, it's nuts. And yet, after just 3 seconds, they decided that there's nothing wrong with this. It is horrendous. And it just goes after all of the decisions that we've had going. You never will see a decision like this ever again. You're never going to see a decision like this ever again. And we know that because when Declan Rice was sent off, we've never seen anything of the like. When Leandro Trossard was sent off, we've never seen anything of the like. When William Saliba was sent off, did we then see after William Saliba was sent off players like Van der Ven get sent off? No. Joe Gomez getting sent off? No. Tosin Adarabioyo getting sent off? No. Gabriel Martinelli getting booked in 2 separate phases of play in the same single process. Never seen again. David Luiz getting kicked on his knee by a Wolves centre-forward in the box, going down, penalty. Never seen again. In the same very day, Anthony Gordon has his nose broken in the box by Kulusevski. And it doesn't get given as a penalty. Like, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. I stayed up to watch Match of the Day last night, and thank goodness. All 3 of Gary Lineker, Micah Richards, and I think it was Danny Murphy all said that this is never a penalty. I was sitting in the press conference with Fabian Herzler. Herzler turned around and said it was a blatant penalty. I tried to get the attention of the press officer because I wanted to actually ask the point of view that whether he thought that Saliba touching the ball made a difference, but wasn't able to ask the question, unfortunately. So yeah, but we're gonna have a phone-in show, and Trotters is going to be able to ring in, which is going to be great. Trotters, I look forward to you phoning in to our phone-in show, which is going to happen right after this break. So make sure you got your phone-ins ready. We're going to be hearing from plenty of you. Links going to be going into the chat box, into the description very shortly. It'll be first come, first serve. Get on, tell me what your thoughts are. Let's have a bit of a therapy session. Right, link is in the chat box. So if you would like to join us, now is the time to do so. Of course, here are the rules. You need to be over the age of 18. You need to have a webcam. You need to be in a quiet place to record. You cannot be outside or in a car. You need to be, well, unless it's obviously parked up. But you need to be in a position to record in a quiet place. If you're outside, you won't be able to ring in. So make sure that you have all the relevant requirements to join us and have a conversation, and we'll try and get as many of you on as we can. We'll take some comments as well while we just wait for some people to get into the phone call. Stu says, why are our fans so bad? Chelsea 4th, not 1 in 4. City 6th, 3 wins in 15. Spurs 12th, 10 losses already. United 14th. Nothing said. Arsenal 2nd, spoken about the worst. Of course, Arsenal are on 40 points after 20 games, which is the exact same tally that they had last season at the same stage. Just realised my laptop's not charging, so give me a second. Just going to plug that in. Otherwise, I won't be able to talk to anyone because my laptop will die. Yeah, I don't know if you saw my tweet yesterday, but I was at the game where I was seated, because Brighton has like 2 press boxes. There's one like down below by the pitch. The other one is in the overflow, where usually if you're one of the away reporters covering the away side, you're usually put up in the rafters. The screen in front of me, A, didn't work, and B, took up like I don't know if I can share my screen with you and show you the view that I had at yesterday's game, but it was absolutely horrendous. Let me see my tweet, and I'll get up on this because I want to be able to show you, because it is quite funny. Lighten the mood a little bit before we get all angry again. Let me share this tweet with you. Here you go. That was my view yesterday, which was hilarious. I did manage to work out how to turn the screen 90 degrees, so at least it was a little better. But then my colleague Bobby Vincent was at Crystal Palace yesterday for Chelsea. This was his view, Crystal Palace, which is arguably worse. So I won't moan too much, I don't think, when it comes to that. Right, let's get our callers on. Bobby's up first. How you doing, Bobby? You good? You well?
I'm well, Tom. Yourself?
Nah, I'm not great, mate. I'm not great at all. But tell me what you're thinking.
So, again, this isn't going to be a popular opinion, but I think
Okay, here we go.
I've been so over the festive period, I was sick, as I'm guessing a lot of people were. I couldn't leave my bed. As I'm
You're
guessing
already
most
smiling
people
while
would.
you're saying this, Bobby. You realise that?
I am, but what I'm trying to say is, I don't get where the expectation is. So people have been coming on with bugs and illnesses,
Yeah,
and they're not performing a dog walk. They're
yeah,
performing
yeah,
elite sports at the highest level.
yeah.
So when people seem to think, oh well, they were tired, bearing in mind the lapse in time they had as well. So I think
Mm.
people just need to put it into perspective. When even after Kai Havertz scored and he was coughing, you could see he was out of breath after that game in the post-match conference. So they've got to understand to what extent, when people are ill, that they perform at. So that's my first point.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, I completely agree with you, Tom, in terms of the penalty call wasn't a penalty. I thought I think all this season we've had the worst penalty decisions, we've had the worst red cards, we've had the worst refereeing decisions. But I think
Yeah.
just for a bit of fan perspective, it's just a really quick one. I just think people need to understand, like, when people are ill, they're ill. It's as simple as that. You can't. We're expecting to see performances that were better than that from people that are ill, and I thought there was a lot of positivity yesterday. I know the result doesn't reflect that, but I think there was. Um, I've, and I think in these instances when you've got let's say, injuries, you had a suspension to obviously Timber. Arteta showed a lot of dynamism within that starting 11, which I'm sure you can agree with as well. And I think
I
that's
don't have much choice. I don't know if I describe it as dynamism, but I don't think he had much choice with
but
his
you've
team.
got but I think that it flowed. Obviously, I'm guessing. I know it didn't work as well as we did, but you got to bear in mind a lot of those players were ill. We've got a semi-final around the corner as well, and
Mm,
it's against
worry
Newcastle.
about
So, but we shouldn't be though. We shouldn't be because I think, um, again, all this calling for people with, oh, we could sign such and such, we could sign such and such. It doesn't work. So, for example, I know I keep on going on about this, but people might say, oh, Semenyo, this. None of them are
Mm,
upgrades on our potential options that we've got within the squad internally at all. I think there's very few that are. So I think, again, just a bit more patience. People were ill and we'll bounce back. And you don't know what's going to happen around the corner today. I know it's very unlikely at Anfield, but worst case scenario, it's not doom and gloom. We've got a semi final. We're still in the FA Cup. We're in the Champions League. It's far from doom and gloom. It's a day where a lot of people are ill, and as people, we should be able to relate to that. I think it's as simple as that.
mm.
I'm not here to rant and rave.
What did
Yes,
you
the
what did you
penalty
make of
call was
the
disgusting.
what did you make of the second half? The first half, I think we were fine. Like I think we were the better team by far. I thought we would dominate the ball far more. Brighton were really poor, and obviously we create the chance to score the goal. Beyond that, we didn't create loads more, and that's my issue. Is that when we were on top, players like Trossard and Jesus didn't deliver. There were moments where I thought that Jesus could have shot and he didn't. There were moments where Trossard I thought could have done more and didn't. I was frustrated that we didn't take advantage of our dominance in the first half when we had it with the most fitness available and the most stamina available to us. So that I think frustrated me that we didn't consolidate the lead that we had, if that makes sense.
I thought we were very sharp in the first half, and I think it is. And I'm not trying to scapegoat anything. I think it's the fact that
Mm,
we were fatigued purely in the second half. I think that's as simple as that. We were a bit more fatigued. You could see that the players looked a lot more tired, and there's been a bug ravaged through the team.
sure.
It's as simple as that. And I think people might say, I thought Jesus looked very sharp during the first half. I thought Trossard did. I think Ethan did some brilliant things. Certain things didn't come off, but I think as a team generally, I think we were like, I think we've definitely got the basics there. And I know people might say, "Oh, Cunha," is a lot of these players. I don't. I think if you swapped, one of the things I'd always say is when people look at upgrades for Martinelli and stuff like that, I
Mm,
think they've got to look at where the ceiling of these players are. So Martinelli's ceiling is far greater than a Semenyo, far greater than
sure.
an Embueno, and his versatility hasn't been applied yet. So we've only
Mm,
seen him once on the right. Everybody's been saying out for years Martinelli can play down the centre, which means you've then got a player that's got just as much versatility as all of these players that we've been linked with. So I think it's just a little bit of perspective and just realise that look, these players do a lot more tracking back than any of these players that we're quoted to, um, linked with. So if you look at how defensively Martinelli is, how defensively Saka is, just take that element in their game in terms of why we've had such a good defensive record is because of the work that they put in as well. So I think just people just need a little bit more context. Yeah, it's completely frustrating what's happened yesterday, and I think we've got to just accept the fact that it was a ridiculously referee decision. We've had it happen to us 4 or 5 times this season, so I'm a bit numb to it now. Unfortunately, yes, we should have won the game, but we've got to just understand there's a human perspective here. If I said to you, Tom, you were injury riddled, can you get up out your bed and
mm.
perform a podcast? We're asking these people to run in excess of
I do it on my
miles.
wedding day, mate. I'd do it any day. So you know.
Yeah, but I mean,
But,
there's like,
Bobby, I understand where you're coming from, and obviously every single point that's going to be made is going to come with the undertone that illness exists. And I accept that, and I appreciate you coming on to put that point across. And I will obviously be putting it to others and seeing what they think differently to it.
I
Because
can't
I
walk
think
a dog if I'm ill. I'll be honest with you. So
I understand what
expect
you're
me to.
saying, but like, yeah, I it's a difficult point to argue with. Like I find it hard to argue the point because A, we don't know how many of them were ill. Like we don't know how many of them were. And I just think that I don't like it being used, really. You know what I mean? I know you're well within your rights to say it, as is Arteta or anybody else. I just don't. I think there are other reasons why Arsenal didn't win the game yesterday, other than illness. So that's probably the last thing I'd point to, if you know what I mean. But I think there are other
I
reasons
think
why we didn't win the game.
so. We didn't have Havertz or Odegaard start off with, or Saka or Timber. So you could
Or White.
arguably say, or White.
Yeah.
So you got to look at that starting five. Don't get me wrong. I know, but I think literally, again, the penalty call. So how many factors do we need to look at before we give these players a pass for yesterday? And I'm not saying a pass in terms of a poor performance. I'm saying it was a poor second half. Yes, could we have been a bit more for it in terms of generating stuff in the second half? Probably, but I think we've got to understand they're fatigued as well, and they have got one eye on a semi-final as well, a two-legged semi-final against a very physical team like Newcastle that looked pretty strong yesterday. But I just think it's a case of just have a little bit of perspective. The league might be gone already. We don't know. The league is most likely. I can't see United picking up any points at Anfield at all, unfortunately. And I think, yeah, we could have
No.
stayed adrift with it, but we've got to bear in mind as well, Liverpool are the most informed team that we've seen for ages. There's talks of him potentially breaking Haaland's records. Gravenberch has been phenomenal. Van Dijk, they're all having, like I keep saying, is
Yeah, they're having a great season, and
They're
Arsenal are
freakish
still second.
seasons.
Like they're having a great
Freakish
season.
seasons.
Arsenal are still second. We're on 40 points, the same as what we picked up last season. This is the bigger picture that I think people are missing: is that Arsenal sit on the same number of points that they had at the same stage last season, despite having less players available to them, despite having far worse fortune with these decisions this season, and despite the fact, of course, that we've got this ridiculous run of games that we've had to deal with at the same time, and of course we've played the majority of the top 10 teams already away from home. So we've got the same number of points despite having a tougher season. So there's no argument about like regression. Arsenal haven't regressed this season, and the point tally shows that in reflection to what we've dealt with. So that's obvious. The idea that we could do more is, I think, what people rightly should be asking more questions
In what
about.
context, though? In what context?
We are hurting ourselves, Bobby, with this time wasting stuff. For instance, like Jurriën Timber's not available for this game because one of the 5 yellows he picked up was for taking too long on a throw in the 35th minute. Ethan Nwaneri's booked in the first half for taking too long on a corner. This time wasting has to stop, Bobby, because it's not helpful. It's not conducive to a team looking to be a dominant force and winning titles. Man City didn't win any of their titles through this amount of kind of dark arts, if you will. It used to be funny. I'm not finding it as funny anymore.
I think what people don't understand is Arteta's trying everything to give us a minor edge. Every single thing. I've heard loads of rubbish going on yesterday in terms of he's had such and such transfer windows. Why have we? He's developed us into a team that nobody would have ever thought of in terms of identity, in terms of having this incredible physicality and stuff. If you look back at any of our teams, would you have ever associated Arsenal with being this land of giants, as we've been described as this big physical team? He's changed our culture completely, and he's trying things through the season that Guardiola's never done. You've never seen Guardiola do this. You've never seen a Klopp perform at corners like this. So all these little cultures and things that we're trialing and experimenting, the time wasting, yeah, people don't like it, but now it stopped working. You'll see Arteta pivot again and come up with something else. And I think that's where we've got to come up with. You just got to be a bit understanding. And I heard somebody say, "Oh, he's had 10 transfer windows." How many has Guardiola had?
Yeah, I will get into transfers, I'm sure. Let me ask you one question, Bobby, just before you go. If you had one criticism of Arteta, what would it be?
For yesterday?
No, just in general. If you don't have one, you can say you don't have one. That's fine.
Right now, I can't say I've got one. So
okay, fair enough. My advice to you would be on that is to look more holistically, kind of at the bigger picture, because I think that while I think you put across fair points, I think that you will undermine in some ways those fair points by not having an element of balance, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to be patronizing to you because I really genuinely appreciate your call. I just think that there are clearly things that do need to change, and things that we can improve to get to higher points tallies and to win these leagues and to win potentially trophies. So, and I know you'll call back on another show, Bob, because you're brilliant for our phone-ins. So between now and the next phone-in show, think of like more broader, because it's putting you on the spot at the moment, so it's unfair in a way. But
I think just for the fact that we've looked at, let's say, this season as a whole, I think maybe even could have got a few more minutes earlier on. I think
sure,
there's certain aspects, but I think overall, I see the bigger picture, and I think we're creating things, and certain times things don't pull off, and it's as simple as that. I don't think it's but I think every manager's got, whether you're looking at top tier like Pep, you're looking at his solutions, but there will be things. But I think it's probably just been, if I'm going to pick something out, maybe on the next phone call, I'll have something for you, Tom. There will be something there, but I'll figure it out.
I'm sure we'll figure something by then. Bobby, thank you for your call, mate. I really appreciate it. Have a fantastic Sunday, mate.
You too, guys. Take care. Bye.
Lovely stuff. Right, that was quite a long call. I understand that we've got quite a few people waiting to come on. Anthony is up next. How you doing, mate? You good? You well?
Well, how are you, Tom?
Yeah, no, wow, I could be better. I could be better, mate. I could be better. Yeah, tell me what you think. I could barely see you. Turn your brightness up. There we go. There we go. I can see you now. Lovely stuff. Sitting in the dark on a Sunday morning. Tell me what you're thinking, mate, because I know you're not happy.
Well, I've looked back. I've watched the penalty situation. João Pedro, he was smart in what he did. Flicked the ball up, tried to another, and that's on him and Saliba. Saliba did go for the ball, but I think I would say the follow through in terms of the clash of heads. These things happen, in terms of clash of heads, but a penalty for that, yeah, it was soft, unfortunately. But we could see it coming in terms of Brighton would get back into the team, because Wanyeri, time wasting again. Timber, I blame Timber for the stupidness, because that midfield, again, Jorginho, your legs are gone. I'm sorry, but thanks for your service. Goodbye. I blame Timber in a sense that time wasting the other games that he did before, delaying a foul from. What are we doing? I'm sorry, but I got no sympathy for the team. They deserve it. I'm sorry, but time wasting, the yellow card, the cards that we've had, the stupid red cards that we've had from the few games from the beginning of the season. And yesterday, I don't know whether this bug that we got at Brentford has hit everyone for 6. Why did Odegaard come on the pitch? Was it for numbers?
It was desperation, wasn't it? It's because we were so short that we had to bring someone on.
Exactly, and this is the thing. Again, it stems back to the poor transfer dealings that we've done. You've left yourself short. You're complaining about the team is short. I'm sorry, Arteta, but that's on you. Havertz is not there because of the bug. Odegaard, we're hearing that he was bedbound, but yet you brought him on in desperation. Why?
No, I mean, right now, Anthony, we have no Sterling, we have no Saka, we have no Havertz, we have no Timber because of suspension, which is of our own doing to a degree. No Tomiyasu, no Ben White. Ethan Nwaneri's now come off with an injury. The team, it's all well and good saying we should have done more in the market, but that's a lot of players that are gone. And not only that, but there's this illness situation that's affected the squad. So I think that coming back to the transfer thing for me for this specific game is a bit of a cop-out, because I want to look at the performance of who was there. For me, Jesus was horrendous.
Yeah.
Trossard was horrendous.
Yep. I'm not, like I said, the more the game went on in the second half, the more I could see Brighton scoring. I was like, Brighton are going to get back into this game. First half, we looked lackluster. There was no real urgency. Ethan, he scored his goal, fantastic. But other than that, as soon as he got taken off, Martinelli, yeah, I'm just like, it is what it is with Martinelli. There's nothing about him, no urgency at all. They deserve what they get. I'm sorry, but I don't have no sympathy for this team. If you can't put away your chances, if there's no urgency, Newcastle, I don't have no confidence about that. If
Yeah, I'm worried about
we've
that
we've
game.
already, we've already lost to them this season, I have no confidence. The way that we're playing at the present moment, I have no confidence in this team because it's like the mindset's not there. You know, the Brentford game when we went 1-0 down, we came back. That was one of the best games that I've seen us come. We went 1-0 down and we came back and we won. I never saw that yesterday. Where is that? Where was the passion? Where was the desire? Where's the hunger? You needed players to step up. No one did. So serve them right. I'm sorry to say, that's the harsh reality of it all. If you're not going to perform on the pitch and the other team gets back in, that's your own doing. Show us the fight. Show us the passion for the Brentford game. Brentford are, they're a better side than Brighton. I'm sorry to say, they are a better team, but yet lackluster performance season after season. We saw this last season. We've seen it again now. Now that we're down to our bit of bones, I want to see what's going to happen now because everyone yesterday on Spaces was just losing their head. The timeline that I've seen about what's going on with this team, we have regressed. It's just like,
if we've regressed, Anthony, how are we on the same number of points?
Sorry, let me choose my words carefully. I wouldn't say regress. I would say that we are not playing the football that we have known. Yes, you can, despite the injuries, but no heart, no desire, no passion. That is what I'm seeing. This time wasting rubbish. We never did that last season. These yellow cards, these red cards that we got, and we never saw that last season. So something has gone on regarding them time wasting. People want to call it dark cards. I just think it's just getting ridiculous now.
Yeah,
it's like you are the manager. Talk to your players about the time wasting. No time wasting. What we're doing again. Now we're down to our bare bones. We got no wingers. We've only got now 2 wingers left.
But I asked Arteta yesterday about the time wasting. I had 2 questions in the press conference after the game. The first one I asked why Waneri came off, as I mentioned in the first part, because I thought was it because he was booked? Because we've seen players be brought off before, but it was apparently because of injury. But I still went with the second question, which was you've lost Timber for this game because one of the 5 yellows he's got was because of time wasting. Waneri's getting booked in the first half for yellow card, and I said, is it something that you need to get on top of? And he kind of just batted it away like it's something we can do better at. Like, I think there needs to be greater ownership of this because, and I don't know if it's just a simple case of obviously he's not going to come out and do it, but I felt it had to be. I felt the question had to be asked because to continue in this thread, it's being more damaging than it is helpful. I don't mind a little bit of time wasting at the end of games if you're 1-0 in the last 5 to 10 minutes, but not a corner in the first half, not a throw-in in the first 30 minutes. It's nuts.
And again, it goes back to, if you asked him that question, I salute you for doing that because I would ask him the same thing. But again, if he didn't want to answer that, the stubbornness and the ego that he has, which there's no accountability from him, which I'm just like, no accountability for him. These time wasting we didn't need to do. Didn't need to do the time wasting. I feel sorry for Ethan because Ethan was the only shining light on this team. I'm sorry to say everyone else was poor. Ethan was the only shining light. Now he's got a muscular injury. We've only got 2 players. Can I look at this team to say the Carling Cup against Newcastle at home? Can I see a victory? If we get a victory, I'll be bloody surprised. I would. Here's the thing. I would give him 1 more season.
Okay.
I would give him 1 more season. If we don't get the players that we need to come the summer and we do not deliver, yes, get rid of him because I think that he can only take us as far as these crop of players can go. I'm sorry to say. I've called it, in terms of get rid of him, but I want to see what he does. If he doesn't deliver in the summer and he does another arrogance, then he needs to go.
The reason why I asked you the question isn't to create any drama. It was just because I'm kind of glad that you said that you give him 1 more season because I do think that those that are being wildly critical but also saying they'd sack him now is where you kind of lose the credibility. So I think you gain plenty of leverage in your points you're making while still thinking that he's earned that extra seasons and getting rid of him now is not exactly the the correct course of action. Because
Well,
I think obviously, go on. Sorry.
No, sorry to cut you there. I said, would the board? I personally don't see the board making that executive decision to fire him. Let's be honest. I've said this openly that I think with these owners, as long as we're in the Champions League, they all care about profit, nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. We've seen it under Arsene Wenger. As good as Arsene Wenger was as a manager when it came to top four, buying the players, missing out on key targets, I don't see these owners doing it, getting an elite manager like a Zidane or like a Simeone or someone else. I don't see them pulling the trigger. The only way that I can see that happening is if bums are not on the seats at Emirates Stadium and he's getting booed left, right, and centre, or there's a big protest, which, again, I don't see it happening. I'll be completely honest.
Yeah, for the record, I don't think any manager's getting more from what Arteta's had available this season than what he's dealt with this season personally. I don't think any other different manager has come in and takes on Liverpool better than Arteta has this season based upon what's happened with us. I just don't. I don't see it with the decisions we've had. I don't see it with the players' injuries that we've had. I don't think losing Ødegaard, arguably your best player of the last 2 seasons, and then Saka for as long as we have. I don't think any manager's taken on Liverpool any better personally this season. I just don't. I just think there's been far too many mitigating circumstances.
Yeah, but they will take accountability though, and he doesn't. And this is the thing: he's stubborn in his ways. We've always said this about this manager. He is stubborn to a degree that take accountability. That yes, you got it wrong. He would never do that. And I remember when he first came in, he was like, "There's no negotiation. It's my way or the highway." But it's the stubbornness about him that fans don't like. There's an arrogance about him. Jose Mourinho, he's an arrogant, stubborn manager, but he's got the credentials to back it up in terms of what he's won. This manager hasn't won nothing, but yet that stubbornness, he won't get rid of. Take accountability for your actions. That's all we ask. If you took more accountability for your actions that you got it wrong, this, that, and the other, I think fans would be more understanding. But because there is no accountability, and he's setting his waves as a stubbornness, I think that's rubbed a load of fans the wrong way. It truly has.
Oh no, I think it has. No, I've raised this before.
Yesterday showcased it online. It's just the stubbornness. And yes, we can say there's a mitigating circumstance with all the injuries. Last seasons that we had when we were challenging for the title, there's no injuries this season. But again, you've lessened the squad and then you want to complain about our squad is small. Well, whose fault is that? That's on you. Admit you've made a mistake. You've lessened the squad. We have injuries after injuries after injuries. We have a small squad. Why is that? You've done that as a manager. Take accountability for your actions as a manager that you've lessened.
Do you think he's been backed as much as he would have hoped to have been? Do you think that players like Rafinha that he wanted and Sesko that he wanted and Kudus that he wanted and Mudryk that he wanted and these players that he wanted to sign but couldn't get and didn't get given, do you think that's in any way not on him?
I think that's on Edu. I'm sorry to say. I think Edu's,
yeah. Well, Edu's gone. So yeah. So this is what I mean.
Edu's gone, and there's a element of that yes, that he has been back to a degree. He's been back more than Arsene Wenger. Let's keep it about. Has he got the targets that he's wanted? I don't think so. And again, that comes down to the sporting director when. No one knows why Edu's left. The real reason. There's speculation about he wanted a more stake in the control of what he was doing, but he couldn't get the first targets. Did that frustrate Arteta? No one knows. Behind closed doors what the situation is. So whoever this new sporting director comes in, if we want to get our first targets, if we want to compete, if Slot brings the league before Arteta does. You know how that's going to go online. He's coming. He's the proper players that Liverpool had. They haven't had as much injuries as we have. If he takes Virgil van Dijk and Salah out of the equation, will Liverpool falter?
Yeah, of course.
Possibly, but they still probably. But they still got players there that can do a job. They still got Jota. They still got Núñez. Despite what people want to say, they still got Chiesa there.
Would you sign Núñez? Would you sign Núñez?
For Benfica, yes, but not for Liverpool. No, I don't think he's the right profile. Gakpo, I would do. Jota, I would. Jota, I'd say, I'll take Jota. He was fantastic when he was at Wolves.
Injury record's pretty horrendous.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but he still gets you the goals. He's still, when you've got, there's Diaz as well. So when there's players who are ready to step up, who do the job, they will step up and do the job. Other than that, if you look at our front line and their front line, who's got a better front line? They've got other players. We've only got one player who we've heavily rely on. Now he's injured for how many months? We don't rotate enough, but it is what it is. But
Anthony, I appreciate your call, mate, as always, and your patience. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. Have a good one. Lovely stuff. Again, 2 calls, both quite lengthy as well. I don't know how many people are going to be able to get through. The mood is significantly low. We're going to get Mark on next. Mark, take yourself off mute.
Thank you, bro. How are you?
I'm not bad, mate. How are you?
Hey, congratulations on the promotion, by the way, Tom.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Tom, do you know what? I said at the start of the season, and see when Declan Rice got sent off against Brighton for kicking the ball away. So Arsenal
Tapping the ball away.
Yeah, tapping the ball away. Actually, tapping. You're absolutely right with that. But we had to change our mentality as a club, and the players have been wanting to go on to win the Premier League. And what I meant by that was just be better. To be better. Just be better. And Tom, we have failed. My team right now cannot do. See, last season, they gave me the biggest gift that you could ever do in the last 18 games. 116 drew 1, which was the empty hat, and they gave me the biggest gift. But see now, Tom, I do not see it. I do not see it at all. Where is this going to? Where's this form going to come from at all?
The same number of points at the same stage.
Tom, I hear it, but do you know something? It's just that our squad is so weak. I wanted all the sales that we did last season. I want DSR out, I want Eddie out, I want Nelson out, I want Vieira out, but we did not do anything in transfer window. Bar stockpile left backs. Now I saw a start yesterday, Tom, and the start I saw yesterday was on Sky. Thomas Partey, when fit and playing for Arsenal have an average of 2.18 points per game. When he goes to right back, it drops to just over 1 point per game. That tells me enough. And we are stockpiling. Honestly, Odegaard coming off the bench yesterday. Tom, I was embarrassed for Arteta. Seeing Odegaard in that way, my captain, this football club, I think Odegaard, Arsenal fans will wax oracles about Saka. I think Odegaard is the guy. I honestly think
I agree with you.
He is unbelievable. And yesterday he was so ill. Tom, I'm in my 40s, and I think I would have played better than Odegaard. It's just
he wasn't on it at all. Like it was, you could tell he could barely move the guy. I mean, he made a couple of decent turns and passes that really weren't taken advantage of by Jesus and Trossard, who were frankly horrendous yesterday. I mean, what choice? I mean, you could say that you could just not bring him on, but we had to get control of the game back in some way. He was only bringing him on for like the last however many minutes it was. I think it was in the last 10 minutes of the game. Like, I get what you're saying. We needed to do something different, and we had nobody because we've got such a threadbare team with what we're dealing with right now. I know what you're saying about everyone comes back to transfers, right? Like the reality of the transfer window is Arsenal spent £100 million on players. We've been battering the club year on year for not selling well enough, that we don't sell well enough, and that's why we have these restrictions. So Arsenal go into the market with the ambition to try and sell better, and Edu in particular goes in with the idea of trying to sell better. We aren't able to bring in the money until the final day of the window for Ramsdale and Nketiah because we've held out for these player valuations, which we've got more than £50 million, including add-ons for Nketiah and for Ramsdale. Of course, we sold Smith Rowe earlier in the window for more than 30 million quid and obviously got a significant sell-on clause in that deal on top of that too. So Arsenal succeeded in terms of changing the narrative of how they are in terms of selling. But unfortunately, to do that, it meant that the money didn't come until late. So the restrictions on spending were there. And not only that, but we still went and spent more around £100 million on players that obviously we have then seen 2 of them crocked in terms of their injuries. Like they've just suffered so much this season with the issues that we've had to face. Like the players that we had available to us yesterday in terms of Calafiori and Merino, they're playing in terms of starts Like, I think they still could be in single figures in terms of starts for this season. It's been that frustrating to have to deal with. So I get people's frustrations over transfers. I get that people say that the window was a mess. I called it a 6 out of 10 at the end of the window, personally, and I would stand by that. But what I look at is that I look at the situation and think, what on earth more should we have done with what hand we were dealt?
Tom, I'm going to point out one transfer to you, and then this sums up Arsenal Football Club, and it's the signing of Thomas Partey. It was a release clause. We didn't even speak to Atletico. We burnt bridges with Atletico. All we had to do was put £40 million to La Liga, and we get Thomas Partey. Nothing anyone could do about it.
Yeah.
When did we make that signing, Tom? In the 11th hour of the final day of the transfer. And this is what my football club does to me. It's what it's doing to all of us. This is it. Don't bring me a Raheem Sterling on the final. Don't bring that guy to me, Tom.
Who's the Thomas Partey then at the end of that window? Like, who is the player that has the
Tom,
release clause that's available, and B, wants to come to us?
Tom, if I was educated enough to be there, I'd be working for Arsenal and I'd be doing as well as you are.
I'll be really blunt.
No. Tom, that's realistic. Tom, it's a realistic answer.
Not, because if you don't know the answer, why are you here?
Tom, do you know what? Go and get a kudos. So we've not got
£85 million.
We could have signed him when he was sitting at Ajax waiting on us for what was it, 35, 40?
Have the money, but sure.
We didn't have the money, so we spent the money elsewhere.
We signed David Raya on loan at the end of the window.
Last season, we signed Mourinho and we signed Carl Fury. Did we need either? Did we need either? Yeah, David Raya. Yeah. Did we need either of them?
Yes.
More than we needed attacking players.
Last season, our weakest area was our left flank. Our left flank was the weakest area of our team. Everything went down the right-hand side. The balance last season always skewed to the right. Everything we did went down our right-hand side. So Arsenal recognised that and thought, what can we do to try and improve our left-hand side? Well, we need to go and add a left-back, and we need to go and add a left-sided 8. That's what Arsenal need to do. In a market that was not healthy for targets, because that's why Manchester City barely bought anyone, and that's why Liverpool barely bought anyone. We spent more than double of what Liverpool and Man City spent combined. And we went out and signed Calafiori and we went out and signed Marino, 2 players that, of course, do improve on the options that we've got. And then we lose them through injury. So, yes, we did need them, Mark. And that's why we went and signed them.
Tom, to go back to the Ipswich game and have a look at the bench and see what we had on. All left-sided players. All left-sided players.
Yeah.
If the squad was that bad, we could have went to a back 3. We have centre backs. We're all centre backs. Carl Fury's the centre back.
We don't have any wing backs.
We had Tierney on the bench.
Right, but Tierney's played one game for us in 18 months, right? Tierney is not... If we're talking about Arsenal winning the league, then I'm sorry, but Kieran Tierney does not come into this conversation at all.
But Tom, if you're talking about Arsenal winning the league, we're not bringing Martin Odegaard on.
We are when we're 1-1 away from home at Brighton, and the only option you've got is to bring Odegaard off the bench. You are bringing him off the bench.
But Tom, that's the only option. That's the only option. Why are we in this state? We're Arsenal Football Club.
Yeah, we're in that state, mate, because Sterling's not there, Saka's not there, Odegaard's not fully fit, Kai Havertz isn't there. Like, there's only so many players that you can lose through injury and illness before you have to say, yeah, you know what? That's why you have a bench that is that weak. That's why.
Tom, I completely disagree. I think it's mismanagement spending.
How? Can it be?
Because we should have, Tom, if you're going to replace, right, we already had Zinchenko, we had Kieran Tierney, we had other left backs, Tommy Asu, we didn't know he was going to get injured again. We should have known, but we did. We had a stockpile of defenders. So if you're selling, Vieira, you're selling ESR and Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson. You're not bringing one forward player. Tom, please.
We have 4 positions in defence, and we have 10 current defenders available to us. We say we have a stockpile of left backs, right? The left backs we have are Kieran Tierney, who would not be here if he was fit in the summer. He would have been sold. We have Alexander Zinchenko, who, again, currently not available to, well, he was on the bench yesterday, but he's had again come back from injury. Miles Lewis-Skelly is not a left back, for the record. He is a midfielder that's come through the academy that has been playing left back. You have Ben White, who's out currently for, well, hopefully back soon, but has been out for the last few months. Tomiyasu has been out and played, I think, one appearance all season. Jurian Timber suspended from yesterday's game. This idea like we're stockpiling, and Kivior has played left back, is a left-sided centre-half by trade. He can play left back, but is a left-sided centre-half by trade. So when we actually boil it down, Arsenal's natural left backs in the squads, because you can't even count Calafiori necessarily as that, is Calafiori, who is a left-sided centre-half playing left back. Jakub Kivior, of course, is a left-sided centre-half playing left back. Zinchenko, who is a left back, and Tierney, who is a left back. Miles Lewis-Skelly, again, has come through the ranks as that left-sided defender, despite the fact, of course, he's more of a midfielder by trade. So we're not stockpiling defenders, Mark. Like, that's not what has happened. Arsenal, I mean, in fact, people are getting so frustrated at how much of an emphasis there has been on Arsenal signing defenders over the last however many seasons, however many summers, of course. But we're in a position whereby we want to spend money on areas of our team that need to be improved. And in the summer, the left side of that defence needed to be improved. And I ask for time and time again for people to realistically tell me the forward that Arsenal should have signed in the summer that upgrades on what we have and takes us to that title over Manchester City or over, in this case, Liverpool. And I just cannot find that answer.
Well, Tom, I'll give you the answer. The answer is Isak. And if that costs Arsenal 120 to 150 million, so be it. Go and do it. I don't care. We are Arsenal Football Club, Tom. We are the third biggest club.
Saying the words, we are Arsenal Football Club, means jack. Like, it means nothing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. If you haven't got the financial freedom to be able to do it, it doesn't matter if you've got a big badge saying we're Arsenal Football. It doesn't matter, Mark. It doesn't.
Tom, it's not good enough for me. I apologise, but
I can't change that opinion. It's impossible to, because there are a million other clubs in the world that wish they were where Arsenal Football Club were, but ultimately they can't be. And Arsenal right now wish they were able to spend what other clubs have spent in the last however many years, but they've not been able to. And when we do actually start spending and start breaking records in terms of our spending and get ourselves back to the title race, we're then told we're not doing enough still and that we're Arsenal Football Club and we should be doing more. What Arteta has done in these 5 years and taken us to where we are, despite the fact that he's not spent as much as Pep Guardiola on his squad, despite the fact that Pep was able to inherit some world-class players on top of that, same for Jurgen Klopp, which Arne Slot has now inherited at Liverpool as well, is nothing short of miraculous. So I don't really get this whole keep spending. I think Arteta needs to be backed in the summer, 100%, and I want to see us spending more, and we will have the freedom to spend more in the summer. And if we don't, I'll be fuming. And this window as well in January, there is financial freedom, and I want to see Arsenal making plays for players. But the summer, I'm sorry, but it just isn't a case of we should have gone out and spent 150 million because that's what they would have asked for Isak, because that wasn't available to us. And I know that sucks, but that's the reality.
Tom, I just, we've had our talent idea. I'm not blaming Arteta for everything. Far from it.
Oh, I know
the job that he's done has been absolutely incredible. And thank you so much for bringing my football club back. You brought me on the brink of 2 punts to the Premier League, but we're just stopped. You sold. What I would say to you, Tom, is don't sell Reece Nelson. Don't sell Eddie Nketiah. Don't sell ESR. Don't sell them. Keep them at the football club. Give us options. So there's something. There's something there. There is nothing there, Tom. You're bringing Martin Odegaard off the bench, ill, to go and play a game. Tom, this is, honestly, if you think this is the standard Arsenal Football Club, I'm sorry. I could never agree with you, bro. I'm just...
I think that's so entitled, Mark. I just think that's nuts. I think when you're going away to Brighton, which, by the way, I think you're being incredibly disrespectful of Brighton, for the record. This is a team that at half-time were able to bring on Minter and bring on Jorginho Rutter, 70 million quid's worth of players to bring off the bench, while we, of course, with our situation, weren't able to bring on anybody. Then they bring on Matoma, a player, of course, who we value extremely highly. They're a good side. It's one of the trickiest grounds in the league to go to. We are threadbare in our options, and we still go 1-0 up in the game. And in the second half, we are punished by the most stupid penalty decision that you will never see ever given again. And we could come away from that. Let me finish the point, Mark. We could come away from that game winning 1-0 because we could have done. Had that penalty not been given, Brighton didn't create another big chance besides the cross across the box from Matoma, which was nowhere near in the end at all. That was the only other big chance they created all game. And Arsenal had a very similar chance with Declan Rice's free kick. So you can cancel those two out. Arsenal could have ended this game winning 1-0. And what the discussion after that game would have been, yeah, we didn't perform particularly great, but Arsenal went to the South Coast to one of the trickiest grounds of the Premier League and came away with 3 points despite not having Odegaard fully fit, despite not having Saka, despite not having Timber, despite not having White, despite not having so many key players still not available in that squad, despite players still coming back from injury and not having a single creative midfielder available to them, despite having their goal scorer come off at half-time because of injury as well. That's what the discussion would have been. But because of a ridiculous decision from the penalty, our conversation is completely different. And it's not the first time that that's happened to us. So I don't buy the whole, this is Arsenal Football Club, we need to raise our standards, because our standards are bloody high. But unfortunately, we've had so many things go against us that we aren't able to. And despite all of that, we're still on the same number of points that we had at the same point last season.
The thing is, Tom, could you see Arsenal go and win 16 games in a row right now?
I couldn't after we lost to Fulham, mate, but we did.
Tom, it's just not the same team. So, I'm sorry if you're pessimist.
Of course it's not, because we don't have the same players. They were all injured.
Yeah, I'm sorry to be a pessimist, but this team is nowhere near. I'd be happy if we win 5 on the trot. Seriously, Tom. And it's like, honestly, I'm normally energetic, so positive for every single thing my football club does. I am deflated. They've let the air out of my tires, Tom. I'm
Mate,
deflated.
I'm where you are in terms of being deflated and disappointed and frustrated that we're not there. And honestly, it's difficult to come on every single morning at times when you look at the picture of what faces Arsenal. That's what frustrates me, is that yesterday, I personally don't think we should have lost that game. Because it feels like a loss. I personally don't think we should have drawn that game. I definitely get the arguments that Arsenal didn't do enough to win it, but they scored a legitimately good goal and Brighton didn't. And I just look at that and I go, in games where teams don't particularly play well, and we use that classic cliche of the teams that don't particularly play well but win games, win titles. And that could have been us yesterday if it wasn't, of course, for the stupidest of decisions by Anthony Taylor to give that, and then the VAR team subsequently after that. So I agree that we didn't deserve to win, but in the fact of the matter is that Arsenal were the only team that scored the legitimately good goal in that game, and the other team didn't. And in spite of the fact of all of the mitigating circumstances that were around us yesterday. So I cannot get my head over the entitlement and the spoiledness sometimes of the comments, Mark, because I hate it when any fan turns around and says, we are Arsenal Football Club. Like, why are you a fan of Arsenal Football Club, Mark? May I just ask the question? Why do you support Arsenal?
I started supporting them over 30 years ago, Tom, and I followed them, and I went through the pain of Arsene Wenger and
Why do you support Arsenal? What was it that drew?
I fell in love with it, Tom. I fell in love with Ian Wright. Started off with Ian Wright. I fell in love with that style of play, etc. But Tom, I've suffered. I've been on the journey and I've suffered. And I want to get to destination, and that is it. So now, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't blame Arteta for all of this. I don't at all. But I do think that I do have a stigma against American owners, and I think American owners suck, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't like
American owners might take them to the title this season, but
but you know what? That's only because if you look at the teams that have dropped off. American owner could take Liverpool there, but it's the teams that have dropped off. Man City have dropped off. American owners are just, they're capitalists, and that's what they're doing with my football club right now, Tom.
I mean, American owners, as I say, have taken Liverpool to a Champions League in their first Premier League title ever. American owners have taken Aston Villa into the Champions League this season.
But they got amazing manager to come in and do it, Tom. So there's your next question.
They've got our old manager that was worse than Arteta to come in to take them to where they are, Mark.
They had Klopp come in, and Klopp was able to spend half the money that Pep Guardiola did and take Liverpool to that Champions League and also take them to the Premier League title. He also left that football club with a lot of academy players come through without spending any money, unless our owners either have to stick or twist now. They either have to back Arteta and give him money, or they have to bring in a Klopp-type manager. And your next question will be, who is that manager? Please don't. Because if I was educated enough, I'd be working at the football club.
Mark, who's that manager?
Don't. I'd be working at the football club, so I don't know who that manager is. So yeah.
Fair enough. I appreciate your honesty, Mark. It's always a pleasure to chat. We don't agree, and that's fine. But I appreciate you being here.
Big up. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All the best, Mark. Enjoy your Sunday. Lovely stuff. Let's get Miles, because Miles looks like he's going to blow a gasket. I can see his camera down there. How you doing, Miles? You good? You well?
How you doing? How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm actually calling from Nigeria, actually, and this is my first time I'm actually coming live. And I used to follow your stuff on YouTube, and seriously, I won't lie to you. I won't take much of your time.
Sorry, man.
I just don't know what Arsenal fans want.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I keep asking
title.
myself
That's what they want.
day.
They want the title, Miles.
Not like this. I understand they want the title. Before Arteta came on board, it was a mess.
Yeah.
It was a mess, absolutely mess. We brought in Unai Emery. I think it did not even last like 2 seasons.
Yeah,
they got him out.
Yeah,
when Arteta came on board, Arteta had to strip that team down, start from the scratch. Right now, for the first time in 3 seasons, back to back, everybody look at us as title contenders. Everybody look at us as title contenders. And at the point, I think I listened to Arteta's press conference before the Brighton game, and people were talking about records that were broken. We have this, we have that. He said something. The only thing missing is the title. He knew what we wanted.
Yeah.
And the team was so thin yesterday. What he actually brought on board yesterday, on board that Brighton pitch was, Brighton's not a small team. People forget that. You just don't go over to Brighton and expect to just steamroll them.
I think Brighton have been incredibly disrespected in the last 24 hours, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We got a point. People think Liverpool is going to be like this till the end of the season. It's not going to be like
people
that.
Expect us to think, are you going to win every single game? Like,
exactly. I was in a group yesterday. Let me tell you one funny. I was in a group yesterday. Maybe we had that 1 point. The next thing one guy said was like, wow, congratulations, Liverpool. They're not 12 points ahead. I was like, seriously? In January? So you just felt like that. Okay, that the whole season is as ended. We don't know what United will play. United play later today. We don't know what's going to happen. The same thing we're expecting, like City to steamroll United the last time they are. I think that was like 2-3 weeks ago. What happened on the long run? So we need to be patient. And everybody's calling now. Arteta can't get us over the board. Arteta needs to leave. I think the best thing Arteta can do is to actually give us the second place. Who else is out there? That will come in and do exactly what Arteta is doing?
Well, you're asking the wrong guy.
Come in right now. I know, Tom. I understand. I'm just putting the person out.
I know what you mean.
Anybody that comes in right now will tear the team down again. We'll start from the scratch again. And all these Martinellis, the Odegaards, the Havertz that we're thinking are our own best player right now, might actually not be the manager's best players. The manager might actually say, okay, fine, I'm bringing somebody from Egypt, I'm bringing somebody from France. You understand? So we'll practically now go backwards. Now, we're a stable top 2 team. It's just a little time that is left. We just do 1 or 2, 3, 4 signings. Then we're over the hump. Arteta created a culture for us. Anybody that comes to that club right now know exactly what they're into. For the past 2-3 seasons, we are so competitive. We actually riddled with injuries yesterday. We're riddled with injuries. When I saw the lineup, I knew something was actually wrong. Actually, I can fault Arteta in some few places, but I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But I know definitely there are some areas we need to strengthen. And we should look at probably, let's say, the striking role. And I will tell you something, I don't know, maybe I might be wrong or right. I'm not a Martinelli fan, actually. I'm not a Martinelli fan, kind of. The way people hyped up, I'm not a Martinelli fan, kind of. Because he's more of a predictable kind of player to me.
I agree with you. He hasn't added an extra gear to his game in quite a while.
There were occasions yesterday that he was on one-on-one, and I was chatting with my friends, leg over, step over.
I don't think that He's not fully fit. Is worth pointing out. Like he had a knock, that's why he didn't start the game. So I don't think yesterday is going to be the best example. But there are other games this season where he has been fit.
Yeah, all he has is just pace. Pace. Set him up and he runs through. And tell me something. When he runs on a straight line. He doesn't even cut it to even take anything. Just run on a straight line. So basically, what I wanted to say is just people just relax. Arteta will still be here for the next 5 years. I'm telling you. And even though in between the next 5, they will still find him a contract. He's still the best man for the job. I don't know if he'll be here for
the next 5 years, but I don't know if I see that. But it depends on what he wins. If he doesn't win,
it depends on what he wins.
If he doesn't win something in this contract, I don't really see how that's tenable. Really.
Okay, I want to say something. Depends on how each season finishes, right? Depends on how each season finishes. If each season finishes strongly, you'll still be considered, okay, fine. Let's go one more season again. Let's add one or two things to it. Depends. That's what I'm saying. So right now, at this level that Arsenal is right now, Arsenal can never fall short of second. I can tell you that, Tom. We can never fall short of second. The highest, the lowest we can go is just second. We can't fall short of second presently. Because I don't
I mean, if we do finish lower than second this season, which I don't think we will. I mean, obviously these injuries at the moment are pretty horrendous. But I still can't see us finishing lower than second. I mean, Chelsea, I think, as I said to people, like, Chelsea look all right, but they're not as good. I mean, the amount of times I had fans who've gone very quiet all of a sudden saying, imagine if Enzo Maresca wins the league. And you're not saying that now, are you? Like,
thank you. I got something like that. Thank you. I got something like that. The moment Chelsea start playing 5 games with losing form, they're on a losing form. People are like, wow, Maresca. Supposing we have Maresca and Arsenal right now, we'll probably be top of them. Like, seriously, guys.
Honestly. The short-sightedness
now,
is amazing.
After 3 games right now, everybody's now quiet. Nobody's talking about Maresca again. If Arne Slot started having bad days now, Liverpool start having bad, they start dropping points left, right, and center, everybody will now be quiet again. Like, wow, what's going on? There was a surprising scenario that happened, I think, was it last season, when Unai Emery came to Aston Villa, when Aston Villa was actually practically doing well, so well. People were saying we were wrong to get him off Arsenal. I swear. At that moment, people were saying that they want Unai Emery to come back and switch with Arteta. That's when they got Aston Villa Champions League. Right now, what are they saying? Arteta went there, and one thing Arteta normally does is once Arteta comes to your ground, Arteta comes to your ground and loses to you in the season, he doesn't come down to that ground and lose again. That's one thing you notice in Arteta. If you notice that, ever since we started playing City, when we came in, we're being smashed 3-0, 2-0, gradually, everything started coming down. 1-0, draw, 1-1-0, 1-1. Now, for the past 2 seasons now, I think we haven't lost to City.
Well, we haven't lost to any Big Six team in
Big Six team. So what else do people want? That's consistency. Just need
they want the title, Miles. I'll say it again to you. That's what they've won. We
will get the title. Tom, don't get me wrong. We will get the title. Just need a little tweak. Just get us the right players and the right me now. We need
to win the title. You need a concoction of different things. You need a good manager, which I believe we've got. You need world-class players, which I believe that we've got. You need to spend money, which I believe that we have done, and you need luck and fortune, which I don't think we've had. And I just think that those things that have gone against us this is the fact that we sit here on 40 points, right, which is the same number of points that we had. And I say this again and again at the 20 game stage last season. We have 40 points at 20 games played, despite the fact that we lost our best player of the last 2 seasons, in my opinion, in Odegaard, to 8 weeks or whatever it was. We are currently without our other best player in Bukayo Saka and are going to be without him for the foreseeable future. We've lost our starting right back in Ben White, again, for months and months and months. Our 2 signings that we spent £70 million on have not been able to be fit enough to play for us on a regular occasion because they too have had their injuries. Add to that, on top of the fact that this current state in December through to January has been hit with illness. So Kai Havertz has missed the last 2 games and other players are not playing at 100%. Martinelli is injured. Ethan Nwaneri comes in to replace Saka, comes off injured himself. And then on top of that, you can add the absolutely ridiculous decision-making that we have had that have seen so many other teams not face anywhere close to the same level of decisions that we faced. So when you put all that together and you see that we still sit on the same number of points at the same stage that we were last season, which, by the way, we were sitting in 4th at this point last season, and this season we're 2nd.
Thumbs up to
I'm
the
sorry,
to
but
the
it's
coaching
nuts.
staff. You should give thumbs up to the coaching staff. They're trying to make.
I don't think they need me making excuses for it.
Tom, with all these things that we have right now, with all these things that you mentioned right now, Tom, right? They still manage to mix what we have together.
Yeah.
To get us something.
And get us to where we are in the toughest league in the world. I know, but it's not enough.
Where we are right now.
It's not enough for people,
Yeah, I know it's not enough. But right now, after Brighton's game, the next thing they will be thinking is, okay, guys, we're down now to our bone. What's the next thing to do? They should probably be thinking about transfers. I know they can actually be thinking about transfers after the game on Tuesday against Newcastle. Somebody just said something on live right now, said, it's not even sure we're going to win. I said, seriously. We're not going to beat Newcastle at the Emirates. Come on.
Sure. I'm not feeling great about it, Miles. We haven't got anyone to vote.
This is Arsenal, for Christ's sake. You know what it is? Tom, do you know what scares me? I always hear from Arsenal fans, like, whenever we drop a point or we lose something, the next thing that is coming, do you know what they will tell? They're like, I don't think I'm sure we're going to dip. It's so scary.
I don't blame them. I can't blame them, Miles, for not feeling that way.
Yeah,
because
them that can. But I can tell you basically what Newcastle is going to come and play in Arsenal at the Emirates. Basically, they're just going to sit back and just keep soaking like what everybody does.
They've got a lot of good attacking players at the moment. They've basically got Isaac's fit, Gordon's fit, Guimaraes is fit, Joelinton is fit, Tonali's now available and playing at a really good standard.
The old team is
they got
fit.
A good team,
the old team is fit.
They got a great team.
Well, seriously. But I know something definitely. We'll still get our points off them. We'll still go to pass the first test, definitely. That was sure. But I just pray everything works out fine. Arteta gets the right signing in January, no matter how. Because I'm hearing news of we're looking at this guy, we're looking at that guy. I don't know how solid those news are. I just wish we get 1 or 2 people in, especially on the offensive side. I think the defensive side we're stacked, and we should start. Please just stop playing Partey at the right back. Jeez. Once we play Partey at the right back, there's something missing in that middle of the park.
Well, I don't know what other choice we had, to be honest. He's the only other competent option at right back. I know the points dropped considerably, but that's because the only reason we're playing a right back is because because there are other injuries. And so I think that's more of the reason why our points drop is because because the players that we want to play in those natural positions aren't available to us. So I think when you look at those points per game when Partey plays at right back and plays in midfield, I don't think the points drop because Partey's playing right back. I think the points drop because we are missing key players and he's having to play right back. So that's why I think those points. Anyway, Miles, I'm going to move on because we've got some other callers, but I really appreciate
Thank you, Tom, for having me, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Love your show.
Thank
Anytime.
You. Appreciate your energy. Thank you, Miles. Miles has cheered me up this morning, so that's an achievement in itself. Goodness gracious me, I was feeling down, but I feel better now. Eugene's up next. How you doing, Eugene? You good, Joel?
Hi, I'm okay, thank you.
I'm loving the dressing gown, my man.
I'm in bed.
Tell me. Obviously, you listened a lot to what people have said, so tell me where your head's at.
Yeah, just a quick one. Of course, like the previous caller said, what do Arsenal fans want? We want to win at the end of the day, because we can't be at the same stage over and over. There are some, of course, Arteta is a good coach, but he keeps on making silly mistakes. Like for example, like yesterday, if you look at how many times we've played Partey right back, look at the amount of games that we've won. I would say maybe it could be like 1 or 2 games. Most of them we've either lost or drawn the games. If he's done that.
Did you hear what I just said, though? I don't think it's to do with Partey being right back. I think it's to do with the players that we're missing that's forcing us to play Partey at right back. Like that's personally what I think is the more damaging aspect. Like if we're playing Partey at right back, it's because we don't have Ben White, we don't have Jurriën Timber available to us, so we're having to play him at right. We don't have Tommy Asu either. So I don't think it's about specifically what it is to a degree, for sure. I think it'd be short-sighted to say it's nothing to do with the fact he's playing right back and when you lose in midfield. But I think it's more to do with the fact that he's having to play right back because we are missing some key players. And those players that are missing are obviously really important. I mean, he played right back against Monaco. We won that game, just going over the Premier League games from this season. He's played at right back in 5. The only game that we won was the Southampton game. The other games he played right back was away at Newcastle, was against Liverpool, and was away at Fulham, and obviously yesterday. So the Southampton game we won, the Liverpool game we drew, we lost at Newcastle, drew against Fulham and Brighton. But those games, like, these are tough fixtures that if we had our best players available, I would count on us winning. Like, it sucks that we've lost them.
Not really. What we can do, what would have done yesterday, would have kept Partey in the midfield. We play Rice and Partey, and then we can look for another midfield player. At the back, we have. I think we should have had 5 or 6 defenders at the back. We can play Saliba right back. Then we bring in Kivio to partner with Gabriel, or we can play Carafiero right back. Then Mouse can fix up that. We can still fix that defense, because if our midfield is strong, we control the ball. Defenders will not be able to do much. But if we sacrifice our midfield to play Partey right back, who's going to take charge of the midfield? That's why we are too open. You can't put in Jorginho there. His legs are gone. Those boys, is playing with the Brighton, because you also said the Brighton team is good. So if he's good, how do you to that? So we shouldn't focus too much on the defense. We would have fixed that with the defenders, because remember, with the team, if I'm a defender, I'm on the bench, then they move Partey right back. How am I going to feel? Because these defenders, it's not like they just play right back. No. They are moved in different positions in their career. And this is just a one-off game. We can still sacrifice and hold on to that. I mean, Saliba can play right back. We can try and do something in the middle. Or it's even better to, if he wants to change, to move Partey, it's even better to put him like they play with Gabriel. Then Saliba goes there. So that whenever we want to push, we take Partey moves into the midfield like that. It's much more easier with him than him being right back. So there are those silly mistakes that he keeps.
I think the only viable other option, as you brought up, would have been Saliba at right back, and then Gabriel, Calafiori, and Lewis Skelly probably would have been my other choice of back 4. That's the only one. But again, I still can't get on board with the idea that Partey at right back's the reason why we didn't win yesterday, because
it is
the reason why we didn't.
Eugene,
the reason why we didn't win yesterday is because of the penalty we conceded. That's why we didn't win yesterday.
No.
Of course it is. Because what other chance did they score?
That's a penalty. That's a penalty on its own. That's a penalty.
Sorry?
That's a penalty.
Why?
It's the same example like the penalty we had where Gabriel was hit. Like I think should have been, is it West Ham or the West Ham game where I got a penalty where Gabriel was hit on his head? Is it the West Ham or
Fabianski punching him in the face?
Yes, it was
the same.
The same. That was a penalty. Even this one is a penalty. It's happening.
Why is that the same? Fabianski didn't get any of the ball and punched him in the face.
Even Saliba didn't. If he got the ball after.
No, he didn't. He got the ball and then he collided with João Pedro.
No. João Pedro got the ball first. Then
and then Saliba got the ball and then he collides with João Pedro.
Yes, but he would say João Pedro was in control of the ball.
No, he wasn't.
He was.
Look how many players are around him. Of course, he's not in control of the ball.
If you look at how many players we had, it wasn't even necessary for Saliba to do that, because if the ball had gone there, one of the defenders, because I think I saw Rice there, one of the defenders would have cleared. So it wasn't necessary. You are in the 18. The moment you do a strike mistake, don't give an opportunity to the referee to disadvantage you. So those things, I would say it's a penalty.
I can't get on board with that, mate. I mean, João Pedro heads the ball. Yes. Saliba makes contact with the ball, and then makes contact with the player. So you've got the ball before you've taken the man. And it's a clash of heads. I don't get it.
Who is in control of the ball at that point? Because João Pedro is a striker. He knows why he's doing that to the ball. So
he's not in control of the ball. The ball's going up in the air, and we've got 4 defenders around him.
If you look at the what was going on, João Pedro did a touch on the ball and he was even running to the ball. And then Saliba, of course, he touched a bit of the ball, and then he heads into João Pedro. So from my own point of view, that's a penalty. Because even me,
I think that's nuts. I think when you look at last season when we played at Chelsea and Robert Sanchez collides into Gabriel Jesus in the box, and that's not given, but this one's given. I don't get how that can be the case.
Yes, but at the end of the day, we shouldn't give an opportunity to the referee to
we didn't.
We shouldn't.
We didn't. Saliba headed the ball.
Let me show you something. Before the ball went into the box. Something that happened with Saliba. I think he overcommitted.
It was Gabriel.
With Gabriel, yes, would have dealt with it at that point, but we allowed the ball to go into the box, and at the end of the day, those things happen. And if you look at it, so many games that we've played, the chances of us, if we score one game, the chances of us winning by one game, they're a bit tricky.
Eugene, you say these things happen, but they don't. Because I've never seen a penalty ever given for that situation ever before. I've never seen a player sent off for 2 yellow cards in the same action. I've never seen a player sent off for tapping the ball away and then getting booted up in the ear by Joel Veltman. I've never seen a player sent off since William Saliba was sent off at Bournemouth for being the last man, despite 3 similar actions for 3 different players afterwards. So you say these things happen, but the reality is, Eugene, they don't. They don't happen, but they do seem to happen to us.
That's why if you want to win the league,
you need to be a different team to Arsenal.
There are small things that you need to take care of. Those
take
things
the Arsenal badge off and put a Liverpool one on.
Like the way Rice got that second year. Of course, it's Ash, but we shouldn't be doing that. The way who is this guy? The one who was red carded in the Man City game.
For Man City.
In the Man City game. The one was it was Trossard who was red-carded. So there are more things that we shouldn't be doing as a team. Of course, we can put a blame on the referee, but at the end of the day, we also need to be responsible because there are those fine margins that we need to take care of. And then, but to the main thing that we're talking about today, about Arteta, I feel he keeps on making the same things because if you look at those numbers of games where Pat has played right back, on its own, you are able to pick something and say this is not working. Why should I be forcing it over and over? And moreover, if we keep on keeping the defenders on the bench, then you are playing Pat right back. I mean, it's in terms of the team spirit.
What right back was on the bench, Eugene?
No, you can sacrifice. This is the one-off game. You can sacrifice. These defenders, it's not like they just play one position in their career. No, they are moved. They can still play in that role. They can still play. We've seen Carifero playing. There is one game that Carifero played right back and we won. Why can't he do that in this game? Why should you sacrifice the midfield at the expense of men playing part in you?
I don't think moving a £100 million defensive midfielder and a £30 million European Cup winner into our midfield sacrifices it. I think that the issue more so yesterday was the fact that we had an absolute chasm of creative lacking, and we then lost our most creative player at halftime again through injury, that the ones that were available. So I just don't look at the Partey right back yesterday as being the reason why we didn't win the game. I just don't get it. I just can't see that.
Sorry for that.
Fair enough, Eugene. We'll agree to disagree anyway, but I appreciate your time. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Right. We've got a couple more calls, and then we're going to wrap up. They're probably going to be quite quick, though. Rob's up next. How you doing, Rob? You good, you well?
Kia ora, not too bad. So I'd just like to try and put a bit of a smile on Arsenal faces. I think we should just take a moment for Ange. You know,
sure.
Yesterday,
sure. You can always count.
Yesterday, he dug himself into such a hole by saying how, you should never complain about referees, that he just was incapable of being able to answer a question.
Yeah.
In the
to be fair, Arteta doesn't do always the best job at taking accountability.
Sure, he's good at deflecting, but Ange, you could just see like he so wanted to like just unload at the referee, but he's dug himself into the biggest hole, right? So
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can laugh at Spurs whenever we like, but I'm not laughing about Arsenal right now because it's quite painful. But give me a monologue, mate, on this one.
So I maybe 3 things that I'll try and get through quickly. One is, I have to admit that I thought initially, before the slow-mo showed that Saliba had got his head on the ball, I could see why the penalty was given. But then afterwards, when they went through it in slow-mo, which VAR should have done, and this is the thing that I don't get, is that, Arteta in the post-match was like, it got checked in 3 seconds or something. Like, why are they taking 5 minutes to draw, every single line possible for an offside to rule out a goal, but they're not taking 15 seconds to check whether Saliba's headed it? Because to me, they've missed that. I can't see how on earth VAR
they have, because they've not taken enough time to look back over the decision. I think there's there's been a lot of discourse recently about how long it's taking to get to some decisions, and the fact that it's taken so long, and there's a lot of criticism for how long it's taken. Like, personally, yes, it's annoying, but as long as they get the right decision, I don't care how long it takes, because you're going to add the time on at the end of the game anyway. So stop pressurizing them to get to these decisions quicker. And I know I'm a little bit guilty of it because I've done it myself, because it is irritating. But I think if it's a case of what's going to happen is that we don't take as long as we need to get to the right call, then what's the point at the end of the day?
But the long decisions are, as far as I've seen, the long decisions are on the basis of who's offside. I mean, forgive me, but the Prem said that they were going to introduce the automated offside back in November, right? I mean, God knows why it wasn't at the beginning of the season, but it was supposed to have been done last year. So what the hell?
I think the technology cameras being installed in grounds, that's proving to be the biggest.
Right. Okay.
But, I mean, they can check the games on silly times for fans because they want to maximize revenue, but they can't invest in stadiums quick enough to get the cameras.
So that was one thing. Second thing, this might be slightly controversial, because I thought when Yeri did play well and obviously got his goal, it is quite amazing how he's breaking records, but I haven't been able to find his stats for the match, but I personally felt as though he actually, in his dribbles and some of his passes, I quite like the fact that he's trying to take people on, but he did lose the ball a fair few times. The fact that he was labelled as our most attacking player, I mean, he's.
He was, because, in part, it was. I think I know what you're saying. I think it was more in part to do with how crap Jesus and Trossard were. That was my highlighted point, what he was doing more. I mean, he made less progressive carries against Brighton than he did against Brentford. He had a lower pass completion rate against Brighton than he did against Brentford. He only completed 8 passes.
What was his pass completion rate out of interest?
66.7%.
So that's low, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, well, he attempted 31 passes against Brentford, and he attempted 12 against Brighton. I know he came off at half time and he played 20 more minutes, but still, that's 3 times less attempted passes at Brighton.
But I'm not dissing him. Like he's
I know what you mean. It'd be ridiculous to do that. Yeah,
and he got the only goal of the match for us. So big him up. But this whole thing of how amazing Yeri was yesterday, I don't buy that. I thought he played okay, but he gave the ball away. He got a goal. He wasn't up to Saka standard. So I think trying to kind of shoehorn Yeri in as a Saka substitute for the next 2 to 3 months, that is not the answer. We've got to go into the transfer market, and we're just so bare bones. And then that brings me on to sort of my final point. It was, to me, in the last sort of 10 to 15 minutes, it was kind of sad. I felt sad that no one was being brought on. I mean, our last sub was
we made 2 changes.
Odegaard, right, on around 65 minutes.
Yeah,
and
he could have used the bench more.
We're chasing the game, and I just had to look at the bench, and it's okay, people are saying, well, there's no options, but that isn't actually true.
Yeah.
The bench had Cabia and
Butler
Oyedeji. And
I mean, Jesus was terrible. Like,
yeah,
bring the kid on.
Why is Trossard and Jesus still on the pitch in the last 15 to 20 minutes? I have no idea. Like, we're chasing the game. Okay, you can say, well, bringing on youth players, you know, when they've never played for the first team before in the last, but you know, they're forward players, right? Both of them. So, you know, if they have a little mess up, well, we've got the midfield and we've got the defense to kind of make sure that that mess up doesn't cost us a goal. So Oyedeji, he's played 7 matches for the and he's 22, right? So he's not he's not Managerial age. He's played 7 matches and he's scored 6 goals and made 5 assists.
He won PL2 Player of the Month, I think, earlier in the season.
Why on earth are we not bringing him on?
Yeah, why is he there? Like, in what scenario is he coming on, other than being just a filler on the bench?
Why even have him on the bench if you're not even going to contemplate bringing him on?
When your striker's being as bad as he was.
No way Jesus was going to get us a goal in that last 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And Trossard, you know, I didn't think he was horrible, but he didn't look. I think
I gave him a 5. I think I gave California. I think I get who's the lowest. I think I gave him 4. I think I gave Trossard a 4, and that's
I thought he played
me,
well at the beginning,
low.
but he went, you know, rapidly downhill. So for me, bring on a winger for Trossard and bring Oyedeji on for Jesus in the last sort of. Even if you don't want to put them on for 25 minutes, if you feel like that's too much of a risk, at least put them on for the last 10 minutes. I don't know. I mean, you know me, I back Arteta, and I think blaming, as some of the other callers have, blaming him for all the ills of the club is, I don't know, I think it's pretty blinkered. You know, it's like we've got to look at financial fair play. We've got to look at Edu's, you know, his role in the buying and the selling, and yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can blame everything on Arteta. And just maybe lastly, like, I think Bobby has had a good point at the beginning. Like, we can sort of say, and I heard what you said. Like, it's not the primary reason why we lost the match, but the fact that we've got so many first teamers injured. And then of the ones that we've got left, we've got a heavy illness that's, you know, means Havertz isn't even making the squad. I think that does have an effect. But obviously, the fact is we should have a deeper squad, especially in the forward positions. You know, with selling ESR and
Vieira loaned and Nelson gone.
But
I mean, you know, we would have a deeper squad in the forward line if our 2 other forwards, other forwards were available for yesterday. If Saka, Havertz, and Sterling were there yesterday, we'd have far more in our locker. But that's 3 forwards. I mean, there's not many teams that lose 3 forwards and don't look light in their attacking options. Is there?
Sure.
Yeah.
And just sorry, I know I've said lastly 3 times now, but like properly lastly. We should have won the game still.
Yeah.
Marino misses
big chance.
I would say not a sitter, but
I'd say a sitter. I think it's a sitter.
He should be hitting the target and testing the goalie. And Partey, his header, I mean, that again, he should be hitting the target there. So those were 2 opportunities in the last sort of 10 to 15 minutes to win the game. So the penalty, we should have been able to have kind of discarded that as a travesty, because we should have won 3-1. You know,
I think we should have won 1-0, but you know, that's just the way it goes, I guess. Rob, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for calling in, mate.
Thanks,
appreciate
mate.
it.
Yeah,
thanks, mate.
Nice
Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Lovely stuff. We got 3 more callers. Elliot's up next. Then we've got Naveen, and then we've got Libux to finish us off. Elliot is on the end of his tether. Is he there? Are you there? You are there. Sorry, I genuinely thought you frozen for a second.
Well, you see, I tried to fool you. See that?
You did.
I did. Tom, how are you? Happy New Year again, Tom.
Happy New Year.
Well, not so much of a New Year with this result. Tom, I knew that the backup dance this summer was going to come back to haunt us, and lo and behold, it did.
Why?
Lo and behold, it did. The backup dance this summer has come back to haunt us, Tom. But let me preface it by saying this. That penalty that Anthony Taylor gave away today would never be given again for 1,000 Sundays, forwards and backwards. That penalty was an egomaniacal referee in his element. I cannot tell you how enraged I was that a man who went for a header and he literally went down like he was shot.
Yeah,
was given a penalty.
Yeah.
And
see his little plaster he got afterwards.
And the plaster work. That was absolute. Listen, I'll tell you what. That was straight out of Rada. That was straight out of Rada, mate. That was an acting job that would be accepted at the Royal Albert Hall. I kid you not. That is absolutely shameless the way they got away with it. But at the end of the day, let's say this, Tom. They were given a penalty that no other team will get. No other team will be awarded that sort of penalty except Arsenal. Never again. We'll never see it again.
No,
we'll never see that penalty again. But here's the deal, Tom. This is where I have to go back to my backup dance this summer. Because lo and behold, who did we have dancing out there, Tom? We had Calafiori, we had Marino, and we had a front line that was totally toothless. Absolutely toothless, Tom. And you know what? Okay, and what happened to him? He was taken off. Okay, they say it's injury. Yeah, okay, all right. He was taken.
I'm sorry to give you like the reason.
Yeah.
I asked him myself.
You asked him yourself. Okay, he said he's injured. Okay, Tom. You know what? Arteta is full of Listen. He's a charmer, mate. He's a PR man, and he will say what it takes. He knows exactly what to say at the exact right time to put everybody off the sniff. But I'll tell you what.
On Tuesday, I'll be, fair enough. But
if he was in on, okay, exactly. If he's in on the team on Tuesday, it was a decision that he took to say, you know what, he's on a yellow card. We don't want to get him fouled and get him sent off because it's Anthony Taylor. Get him off at halftime. I think that's what went through his head rather than an injury.
Well, that's why I asked the question. That's because I thought he was taken off because of a booking. But if he tells me it's an injury, I have to take that at face value. Like I have to. And until I'm given evidence to the contrary, I have to take that at face value.
Okay. Granted, we take that face value. It was injury.
Anyway, let's talk about the game because obviously, I think the penalty is the biggest reason why Arsenal didn't win this game.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. They would have never scored on us and that there is no indication. Arsenal had them in a headlock. There was no indication they would have scored one single goal, or let alone one shot on us that day. There was no chance. I never saw it coming. No one saw it coming. The only way it was going to happen is if Anthony Taylor entered into proceedings and said, you know what? Let me give him this penalty that's never been awarded before. That'll never be awarded again. I sound like Ty from AFTV. I really do. But anyways, Tom. The fact of the matter is, we got the goal when Yeri scored an excellent goal. I said he would get his second today, and he did. But here's where the rubber meets the road, Tom. This sort of match, if these guys are going to give us anything in return, we should win 2-3-0. And I predicted a 2-0 match. Where is that goal coming from? I don't know, because that front line was totally toothless. You got to admit it to me, Tom. That front line, it was toothless. It was absolutely toothless. You know what? It goes back to the summer, Tom. We never got that one guy. It didn't have to be two. It didn't have to be three.
I'm sounding like an owl.
Okay, who? Okay, I would say Nico Williams won if we want to throw the money at him. If we want to throw the money at him, but we didn't.
Who next?
He didn't want to. Okay, next. I would say Kudus would have been another one. Now you can't deny that one, Tom.
Pounds. Next.
What, 85 million? We could afford that this summer, Tom. Come on, Tom. Tom, the amount of sales we had. Tom, the amount of sales we had this summer.
When did the sales happen, Elliot? When did the sales happen?
The sales happen late, but the thing about it is you got to speculate to accumulate. I would have
minutes.
It happened at the last minute, yes. But if you know that these sales are coming, Tom, you can speculate to accumulate.
We rejected by Forest days before deadline day, and we waited for Palace.
We could have brought in Kudus. We could have brought in Kudus.
I don't know what I'm privy to this information. I am aware that it could not have happened. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. And let's be honest. Kudus has 3 goals. Listen. Kudus has 3 goals and 1 assist this season. I like Kudus. I would take him, but let's not pretend like he's the be all and an end all. Like, he has less goals than Martinelli.
I'm not saying
he has less goals than Jesus. Like,
I'm not saying that at all.
It's not like this is we talk about a backup dancer summer. You're talking about the difference being us spending on a guy that's got less goals than the guys that are currently starting.
Right. I would say there were a few other players that were out there that we had talked about previously that could have been received this year. I would say Gyökeres was available as well. To be fair, Gyökeres was available.
Euros from?
Yeah, Tom.
I'm sorry to give you logic. I'm sorry that I have to deliver the logic to you.
Tom, Gyökeres was there for us, Tom. Tom, it was there. It was 100 million. You know what? Spend the money for a player of that ilk, and we are not in this predicament we are now because we needed a guy who's going to change games and change minds and attitudes. That was not on the pitch today. You know it. I know it. God's greenest knows it. It wasn't on the pitch today.
It was injured. That's why.
It was in. I know it was. Oh, okay. Well, fine. It was injured. But okay. The fact of the matter is we are in such a terrible position. But okay, we don't have the Saka, we don't have the White, we don't have a few other players that may have made it, but especially Saka. We're not in need of that. But and Havertz as well. Okay, Havertz wasn't there because of sickness. We had Odegaard who was sick. I don't know. Listen, things were conspiring against us, Tom. But all we needed was one player who was available. I would say we could have even got to Cunha if you think about it. Cunha was that was another summer move that could have been made this summer. Didn't go for it, and I believe there was I believe I heard it on your Transfer Daily show that Cunha was available. We never did bite, and we could have got him for a reasonable price.
When?
This summer.
Did I? I don't remember that. I mean, let's not pretend that the Cunha is even somebody that I sit here and say anyway that I want. I say I don't think he's the right player for us.
Right. Well, here's again, Tom. There were candidates out there. I gave you about 3 or 4. I would have said the nearest one was Kudus. I said Kudus was available, and he could have turned things around, especially on that right side. Even Bakayoko, but he's more of a backup dancer. But again, he's had a pretty good year. I don't know. You have the stats. Bakayoko from where's it? PSV, I think it is. PSV Eindhoven.
Bakayoko's PSV. Yeah, said he only wants to play for a team that he starts week in, week out.
All right. I don't think he would turn down Arsenal.
I'm waiting.
I don't think he would have turned down Arsenal Football Club if given the opportunity. I really don't. I really don't. But again, you're the one with the contacts. I have to cede to your judgment because you are the chief Arsenal reporter for Football London.
Stop it. Elliot, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to let you go.
Tom, I won't stop believing, but I'll tell you, you and I both know if he doesn't get anybody in this January, who's to blame?
Oh, mate, if we don't try and get someone in January, I'll be fuming. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll be fuming. If we aren't trying to bring somebody in this January, I'm going to be apoplectic. Don't you worry. So, yeah, I'm with you.
I just want to hear the questions from you because now I can hear you, Tom. I can hear you through the. I can hear you.
You can listen to it. Yeah, you can.
I can listen to you. I can hear you now. So you're identifiable.
This is a great. Let me find the point. Someone said. Where is it? Here it is. I said what I said says to have access to the club, you have not go. That means you don't go against them. I literally asked Arteta about time wasting. I could not have asked a more. I couldn't have asked a question that was more against the rhetoric. But people have their views. Elliot, thank you for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it. I'll speak to you soon.
Well, keep hold of that press pass, buddy. Don't let them take it away from you. Don't let them take it away. All right, mate.
See you soon. Yeah, I'm getting in trouble. See you later. Bye. Oh dear, love that stuff. Naveen's up next. How you doing, Naveen? You good? You well?
Hi Tom. Yeah, I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm getting tired, mate. I'm getting tired.
Yeah, 1 hour, close to 2 hours.
Energy
Yeah.
is waning. But yes, tell me, what's your thoughts on what's been discussed today?
I mean, my initial thoughts is that okay. Let's start with the starting lineup. Okay. I didn't like Partey at right back. I'm
Yeah.
not sure about how others feel, but the thing is that I felt that his presence at midfield was lost in the game. Like what is Partey's strengths, right? His passing, his duel winning, his shooting is quite underrated. And he tends to go
When it's on
pass
target.
within, yeah, and he tends to pass like within his first 2 touches. And this is how I felt during the game was that.
Oh, Naveen's gone. Oh no, he's back. Sorry, I think that was me. I think I pressed the wrong button. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm censoring you. Keep going. Sorry.
So yeah, I felt kind of bad that we lost a lot in midfield just because we shifted Partey there. I think maybe we could have put maybe how do I say Califori there at right back and maybe put Lewis Kelly at left back. And I just didn't like the way how Partey was playing there from the start. We needed more power from the right back, and Partey is just not going to give that. So okay, never mind. Partey not playing midfield. Okay, let's go about the match. I think Enwari took his goal quite well in front of Thomas Tuchel. I think it will do him a lot of confidence and hopefully bring more confidence in Lewis Kelly to perform for Arsenal. And the thing is that, from then on, we just didn't take full advantage. We didn't go strike for strike and go for the second goal. We looked very lethargic, very tired. And I don't blame the team, because we've been playing too many games. Our squad was thin. We have injuries, we have suspensions, we have all these things, and we just couldn't find the right players to just do it. We ran out of resources, that kind of thing. Going back to Anthony Taylor's decision. Okay, you know what I think? I think that if Saliba had clutched his head after getting contact from João Pedro for the clash of heads, I don't think Anthony Taylor will award the penalty, because he saw Saliba standing on his ground and he saw João Pedro on the ground. His initial thinking was that Saliba made contact with João Pedro and he thought that he hit-butted the player more than a clash of heads, that kind of thing. And I do agree with some of the callers previously, because they mentioned that it took quite quick. They made the decision quite quickly on VAR. It took 3 seconds. And I only think that maybe they only spot the challenge by Saliba, whether they made contact on João Pedro's head, rather than whether Saliba made contact with the ball. And because of this, all this checking, they weren't going to overturn the referee's decision.
They barely checked it.
They barely checked it. That's the thing,
I think it's 3 seconds. I said they
They entirely missed it. So this is what we got out of it. But I do think that we lost a lot in our game plan in terms of searching for the second goal. If you look back at the Brentford game, right, where our goals came from, it came from second balls. So we needed that kind of mentality to win the second balls around the midfield, around the penalty box, in order to get that second goal. But we just didn't find it. Our midfield wasn't shooting. I think if Partey was there, look, do you remember the Brentford goal?
100%.
Partey had a shot, and he led
Rice
to
had a shot as well, but was clipped.
It was deflected
as he was taking it. Yeah,
and we need more shots from midfield to create that second ball allowance for our forwards to latch on, because they are not very good at creating their own chances. So we need that kind of play from our midfield. And if you're going to put Partey there right back, you're not going to get that chance out of midfield. So that's the whole problem with our squad. I do think that we need to sign a lot of players. Before the season started, we needed a striker. Now I realize we need an attacking midfielder to cover for Odegaard and maybe a cover for Saka. It's just not enough. We do need to strengthen right now. So yeah.
Naveen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your patience as always as well. And I hope you're right in terms of strengthening. I really hope that it does come. Thank you, mate.
Take care. Happy New Year.
Take care, mate. One more quarter to go, and then we're done. And that's Libox. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
Tommy boy, how you going? Can you hear me?
I can. Is it you that calls me Tommy Boy in the chat every morning? Or
Yeah, that's me. That's me. I was like, what can I call him that'll annoy him, but that'll always catch him out?
That's not bad, to be fair. It gets me about 30% angry, but
Nah, it's just in Australia we like to use nicknames and stuff. Yeah.
Tell me,
we love
what you
nicknames
think
in Australia. Honestly, I'm very frustrated, to be honest. I follow, I'm not sure if you know, actually you might know him, Gunner Blog from The Athletic on YouTube. And he's been saying it all season just purely because of the decisions that go against us, the timings of certain injuries, our fixtures. I mean, playing probably all of the most of the top sides in the Premier League all away by this stage of the season. He's been saying all season that it doesn't feel like that it's going to be our year when it comes to the league.
Yeah.
And the whole time, and the whole time I'm always thinking, trying to ignore it because obviously I've had high hopes for this season. It's been very frustrating. And look, I've gotten to the point where I've kind of just gotten used to refereeing decisions costing Arsenal. And honestly, it's not the first time, and it's not going to be the last time. So I try my best to just kind of move on from it. Like this morning's, like Arsenal played at 4:30 a.m. Australian time this morning. And when that happened, I just try to move on from it straight away. Like I didn't want to think about it too much because it's happened so many times, I guess my question here today is I don't want to really go over the game because I have my thoughts on it and kind of want to move on from it because it's so frustrating. I'm sure you wanted to as well. But my question is, when do we start playing for the cups? When do we start, making the cups? I'm saying, when do we start, placing the cups as more important than the Premier League? Because it just feels like, it's just
I know
too much
what you mean.
happening in the Premier League for us.
I have a concern that the gap to Liverpool opens to a point where the league, not that it doesn't become as important, but that because the points are still quite considerably tight. I know we've got a gap to Chelsea and and I know that the top 5 get Champions League this season. But I just have a concern that if the gap to Liverpool opens to such an extent that it's obvious that no one else is going to win it, that there's a loss of form in the league. And I think it's important to keep up that league form and to keep pushing forwards because it can obviously help your momentum in the cups as well. So I really hope that we don't lose that momentum and don't lose sight of the league, even if indeed we need. And I think you're right. The League Cup is a great opportunity this season. Across 2 legs, we should beat Newcastle, depending upon the availability of players. They've got basically a really good availability of squad at the moment. Botman's coming back, and they've got their 4 players all available. So Murphy's in good form on the right hand side, and we know Isak's Isak. So it's going to be a very difficult game on Tuesday. I have no doubt about that. But if Arsenal can get players back, if Havertz can be available, if Ødegaard can be available, if they can both train in the next couple of days, then obviously that's going to be really positive for us. But yeah, it's really important, I think, that the league doesn't kind of detract in a way, because we need to make sure we have to try and win a trophy this season.
Yeah. Just going back to the league, 100%. I don't want to throw in the towel, and it doesn't look good as well, especially where we've come from. We want to be able to keep that consistency, as much as we can. But I just think it's honestly when you think about it, some of the things that happen to us, will never happen to anyone, and especially this season as well. It's all just compiled together, and it just honestly feels like that we need to just kind of get on with it. And I feel like maybe this summer, I'm not sure if there's any international tournaments. I know there's a Club World Cup. I'm just happy that no Arsenal player is going to be playing in any of these tournaments. I'm not sure what the calendar is looking like in summer. But
yeah, we're not going to play the Club World Cup.
Maybe go again.
any international tournaments. So yeah, we can have a proper pre-season for the first time in a while. And I've said it. I've been saying it on the channel for like a couple of years. I've been saying 2025 is a really big year at the start of the season and the summer in particular for Arsenal. And I've got a lot of expectations for it. So I am intrigued to see what happens. But we still got to focus on this season before we get to next season. And there's still plenty of stuff to be won. You know. Anyway, the Bucks. Thank you for your patience. I really appreciate it. And stop
thanks
calling
so
me
much.
I'm only joking.
All right, no worries. I'll get to that.
Don't worry, man. It's all good.
Take care.
Have a good
Take
day,
care,
mate. See you later. Bye, mate. Lovely stuff. Thank you to all of our callers today. Really appreciate everyone jumping on. We had a fairly, not fairly, we had a very good discussion. 2-hour morning show breaking down some therapy from yesterday's game. And always the massive amount of respect to people, in particular people like Anthony and Mark, you know, people who didn't necessarily agree with me, Eugene as well, but have the front to come up because there's so many loser, keyboard warriors that don't. They just sit quietly in the chat box spewing their hate. But the fact that some people do come on is respect to them. And, of course, to the rest of our callers as well, whether they agree with me or not, for putting across their points of view and being patient as well to give their time. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Will we? Depends. Don't know yet. We're still waiting to find out when the press conference is going to be on Monday ahead of Newcastle. So it might be that there's a pre-record. It might be that there's a normal show. So I'll let you know when I know. I don't know yet. We're still yet to decide when the presser is. So it may be a normal live show. It may not be. You will know as soon as possible. Do make sure you drop a like on the video. We're trying to do our 1K everyday like challenge, even though it's tougher after defeats. It always is. The mood is low. I say defeat. It feels like one, even though we drew. But yes, please do drop a like, and I'll be back with you. Maybe live, maybe not tomorrow morning. But fingers crossed. Speak to you soon. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy, respectful, and as always, up the Arsenal.